We'll fuck all the dice, bring worlds to life. Masters of the dungeon, cutting like a knife. Heroes, villains, lord, share. Learn the craft, magic in the air.
Welcome to Masters of the Dungeon, the podcast. I can't even talk. The podcast where game masters get deeply nerdy about running tabletop RPGs. My name is Nacho, and joining me, as per usual, is the mighty glue stick himself, Mr. AJ Pickett.
Hello.
And this week, our special guest is Brad Thompson from Cutting Words.
Hello, I feel very special. Thanks.
You're a returning guest, but you weren't here when AJ decided to join the podcast. So yeah, good to see you, man.
Does it make me like a new guest again, or no? Just
I think
Legacy.
legacy.
Friend of the show, I think, is your title at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah,
Really? Is it? I can put it on my CV. That's all right. Perfect.
level 2 podcast associate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
We're
impressive.
still in tier 1. We're in tier 1 of this podcast, mate.
Yeah. Well, apparently we're already in the 10% percentile with our other podcast because we've got past 10 episodes.
Yep. Yeah. I'm in the some weird facts that I learned the other day. There's 4 million podcasts in the world, but only 10% of them have more than 10 episodes. So
Wow.
I guess that kind of makes you think. I don't know.
Wow, we've got a lot of numbers flying around here already. Oh, it's crazy.
This is going off the
Yeah.
rails.
Are we in a combat right now? What's happening? There's so many numbers.
Nerds love math. All right. So before we get started, I'm going to hit you up again. I've already done your backstory. I know AJ wasn't here last time, so I don't want to repeat myself. But I thought I would sort of like dive into your core traits as a game master, Brad, with some deep questions. I'm going to ask your ideals, your bond, and your flaws. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this mechanic.
Well, they got rid of it in the 2024 rules. It's like, I was actually surprised. Like, really? That's quite a good way of getting new players to learn how to roleplay and build characters. Oh, you got rid of that? Oh, okay. Who's this book targeted again? Anyway, okay. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I liked ideals, bonds, and flaws. I thought it was really good.
Do we still have trinkets? Have we got trinkets in 24?
Yeah, the trinket table is actually massive. You roll on it during character creation now. It's a D100 table.
Yeah, I think everyone gets trinkets. I don't think those fixed backgrounds. All just kind of like you just get some. I'm pretty sure.
I'm surprised we haven't got every class has got some sort of a companion animal or minion or something like that.
Yeah,
I'll give it a couple of expansion books.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just gotta keep making money somehow. Gotta spread those out.
That's true.
Okay, let's start with your ideal. Is there a core philosophy that shapes how you approach being a game master?
Oh, now it's deep. I want to say fun, but I feel like that's a bit of a cop-out answer because everyone's gonna say that. We all do it for fun, right? I don't think anyone plays the game.
But what kind of fun? Is it zany fun? Is it I feel fulfilled fun?
What's your alignment of fun?
Oh, I like having I always like seeing a bit of humor in my games, like a bit dry humor. It's like not like slapstick or anything. I'm just kind of like wait a minute, like just some scenarios end up being quite ridiculous, but they come across quite organically.
Well, we are New Zealanders. Our humour is notoriously dry.
Yes. A lot of people don't get down line, I don't think. Like, wait a minute, you're actually joking? Yes.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's come up quite a lot, actually. But yeah, I guess adjacent to that, I'll expand it to be I like building up a comedic scenario, but like building up connections. I like having things tied on nice little bows. Like actually, that thing that happened there is actually connected to this. May not be at the time. I might connect it later. But I like having my styles. I like having actually, you can prod things and things will connect up eventually somehow. I'll make it work.
Yeah. What's that big word? You said it the other day, AJ. Verisimilitude.
Verisimilitude. That's the nitty-gritty details.
Is that what we're talking about?
The I call it a holographic sort of way of planning where everything sort of everything connects up like the red string on the conspiracy diagrams. You pull one string and it's always connected to something else. You're always ready with an answer, or the plot's always ready to go off in a different direction, or things cascade and fall into place. So it seems like you planned it in the first place, when in actual fact you're just putting on a pretty good show.
It's also funny enough. My playstyle is as a player. Like I will red string the crap out of long. Hold on, wait a minute. That must mean this. That could mean this. And I come up with these insane theories. That spiral out of control.
There's the figuring out the plot, and then there's figuring out how your DM makes plots. Yeah, it's like, oh, you metagamed me. It's like, yeah, I did. I'm sorry.
No, actually, your idea was actually so good. I took it and I made it the plot of the game now. Oh, fair enough.
Yeah,
everyone wins.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do your bond. Is there part of being a game master that you feel especially connected or passionate about?
I feel like I got to say terrain, right? I feel like that's the name of the game today, right? I do like my miniatures and terrain, so we'll go with that one. It's hard to pick one because it's multifaceted. You know, I'm not a simple D&D character where I can be just constrained down to this 3 ideal bond floor. That's it.
For the purposes of this podcast, you are.
I'll pick terrain. So I love terrain and how. I guess I won't get into too much detail now because I'll go preempt everything. But I like how it can inspire. Actually, like terrain can inspire the story as well. When I'm sitting down planning my sessions, I build an encounter and go, oh, actually, hold on, put this here. Actually, yes, and that was there because of this, and yes, okay. And suddenly the terrain kind of writes the story for me sometimes. Yeah.
So you get inspired by terrain?
Yes. Yes.
So when you're doing your game master prep, you're using your terrain rather than
correct.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so part of the process is like, especially if I know, like, okay, the players are going to walk into the next room to right at the door. This is definitely going to happen. I mean, sometimes I build things thinking they might get there. Yeah. I'll put it aside over here. I try not to plan those too far ahead because I know my players pacing pretty good now, so I don't fall that trap too often. But yeah, so generally it kind of expires what's going to happen in the next room or what's going on there. Right to what you got. Why am I buying and building new terrain where I've got this perfect good stuff here sometimes? Like, you know what? Why just change a little bit and I use the stuff I already got? I'm stressing out too much, especially if the game is in a couple of hours. Oh no, why am I painting this new stuff? I'll leave it to next time.
I had a huge learning curve when I was an extra on Xena Warrior Princess for like 2 episodes or whatever it was.
Oh, what episode?
It was like the Prince of Thieves. Bruce Campbell was on there, and he was stealing some gem thing, and there was a scene where he was getting his head dunked in the water by Xena in a barrel. And also she pulled out the rug on the stairs and he went flipping and landed on his ass. I got to meet Xena's stunt double. She appeared out of the sky. She was on a high wire above me on the alleyway as I was coming down the back of the main street. And she flipped out of the air and just landed in front of me like an angel from heaven. And yeah, she's one of the most impressive human beings I've ever seen. She's still amazing. She went to like a stunt school in Auckland. Anyway, yeah, or somewhere, I'm not sure. But the way that the terrain can be, the set design there is they can make it look different every single time just by changing the flags and filming it from a different angle. And the way that you use your terrain pieces and move them around makes a totally different scenario. That always fascinates me. So yeah,
that's
set
probably
design.
Where you come, because you come from a TV background, so that possibly is how your brain works, Brad. Like when you look at terrain, like you look at it like a set piece, do you?
Yeah. So I studied film and worked in post production for a while, and I work at film school now. So I definitely kind of think look at the angles and how's it gonna work, how many squares will it take the players to reach that wizard over there? Maybe I want it at least 7, squares, 35 feet away, around 30 feet, just so they don't get immediately annihilated, positioning wise as well. I think like the classic
wizard on a ledge.
Wizard on a ledge, like most devastating thing. So you're like wizard on a ledge, like how do you get to this guy? It's my first terrain build was wizard on a ledge, and it was great. And like I get more terrain. After that moment, I was like, this is amazing, game changer. Rather than having a wizard descend on a blank space. up on a ledge. How do you deal with this guy? This guy's now infinitely harder and more challenging to deal with.
I love the Luke Skywalker, and he's jumping across the thing with Princess Leia on his arms, and there's the Skywalkers. There's the stormtroopers who are firing up from the thing. I've done that with goblins so many times. Goblins or kobolds just with short bows. Ping, ping, ping. It's like, how are we going to get to these guys? And they just keep sniping you until you just hate them so much. And the players will do ridiculous things to get to them.
Cover or just just changes the whole scope of like they go trying to think outside the box thinking, which is it's great to see.
But nimble escape is another reason why people hate goblins in situations like that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting though. This is what's really cool about this podcast is because we've spoken to quite a few different game masters now, and how just everyone's approach to prepping is so no one does this game the same way. Anyway.
It's different styles.
Yep. Okay, your floor. What's one part of your GM style that you're currently trying to improve or refine?
I'm flawless. No. So
well, you are
great character. You're
a top 3 finalist in Wizards of the Coast official Dungeon Master Challenge.
Yeah. Something I've actually been actively trying to experiment with is kind of more horror genre, and because that is very different. Because often you want the mystery and not have everything obviously connected, and leaving a lot of unknowns, which is very different to my usual style. So I've been experimenting with that a little bit lately, especially try to do it in the realm of D&D as well. I mean, players are bloody invincible. It's trying to not have everything explainable or connected up, and having things more. Having bad guys that are less personally connected, because I love things being connected to people's backstories and things like that, but having they're like Cthulhu or whatever, of course you're not related to the it's unknowable, it's this very different style, and it's definitely something I'm experimenting with. I can't say I love it. I like my style. I like them, but it's good to stretch your legs and try different things. You still learn from it, and we can take away from it.
I've learned so much from other DMs, particularly this guy and Alex in Hamilton, who is really, really good with Call of Cthulhu, and he gives me jump scares every single time. He slowly reduces his volume when he's talking, and you end up leaning in and start whispering like you're going on a fishing trip in the morning at 6 o'clock and you're getting ready with your dad, and then he's got this crazy character in an asylum that you're trying to get information from, but you don't want to freak out the guy, and then he just turns around and screams at me, and I leap backwards out of my chair. I'm like, he's giving me a heart attack. Gets me every time.
I got a little dimmable lights with a remote control with my dining table for one of my home games. I can change the lighting colors and dimming. Set the mood.
Nice.
Right, yeah. Horror and comedy go well together though as well.
Oh yeah.
It's one of those. It's why it's a subgenre of film. Horror comedies.
Both are about building and releasing tension.
Okay, let's get into the topic of the day. So, we're going to dive into terrain. Just because Brad is a really big terrain guy, AJ's a terrain guy, and I know fuck all.
Yeah,
so I'm here to learn.
Hence the nickname the Mighty Glue Stick. Yeah, there's a reason why I have that nickname.
Oh, there we go.
So, how does terrain enhance a tabletop role-playing game session?
Well, it turns it from a table into an environment.
Yeah. Especially with when it comes to 3D nature as well, right? Where was on a ledge, we suddenly got the third dimension to worry about rather than being a flat surface, or as well as what was it? When you're in theory of the mind as well, it can be a case of sorry, where was the guy again? Where am I? It can just be infinitely just clears up. This is exactly where it is. What's going on there? Which has pros and cons, right? It's different styles. Definitely if we go back to the Cthulhu genre, doesn't suit miniatures and terrain so much. You want that whole unknowable kind of where is things? But definitely in D&D and kind of more fantasy combat style things. Yeah,
that's a good point too. Because in horror, sometimes it's you want them to be. You want to describe where they are rather than show them where they are, because you really want to live inside their head and get their imagination very engaged in what you're saying.
Yeah.
So if they become very keyed on to you over-explain something without explaining what it is or why you're explaining it, because particularly role players, are trained to focus in on things that you're describing to them. Like if it's just a door, then it's just a door. But if it's an iron-bound door with slight rust around the lock, they start to laser in on that lock. And if you're explaining a dripping sound, they want to know where that dripping sound is coming from or why, and how they can hear it or why they can smell something. So terrain sometimes is a hindrance there.
So conversely, just in my last session actually of this horror game I was running, my players decided to fight this flesh pod they found, like a flesh cocoon creature, and I had this miniature that was appropriate. Before I brought it to the table, I actually rinsed it underwater, this fleshy miniature, so it was actually kind of like moist and dripping when they touched the meme. Ugh.
Nice.
Get into it.
Yeah,
you got the right miniatures ready to go, but yeah.
Sticky is a vibe.
Yeah.
What is this? Yeah.
Add slime to your miniatures.
Yeah.
I find though, as soon as I put a map out on a table, it's a Pavlovian response that I am initiating combat. Is that so? Does that happen with terrain? Like, how do you bring your terrain out when you when the players arrive? Do you have your terrain set out, or
so I have trays where I can have my terrain kind of hidden away to the side. So sometimes I have things to the side. It depends on the scenario, but like I might have things off to the side. I might have things kind of vaguely set up, but like not fully. Like they're traveling right now, so I got some forest stuff set up, but might need it, might not. I'm sure it's fine. It really depends.
Yeah, having a good supply of like just generic maps and then scatter terrain is really good for wilderness stuff. So one of my tricks is just you roll throw a handful of dice, and then everywhere the dice rolls, it's either a rock or a tree. So it's completely random. Yeah,
hardcore.
Yeah,
that looks good. Like, blah, blah, blah. There we go.
Yeah, it's like there's a river there somewhere. When we put that there, it's like where would it be likely that the goblins would camp? There, in that clearing. And so it becomes fun for me because I'm discovering it at the same time that players are. So yeah. But as for set pieces, I have done that because using print and paste paper terrain, and I want to build. So what I do is I build a board, and that's a section that I slot onto the thing, so it's not discovered until they get there, and then it's like pudunk, and it's usually a big chamber or a network of things that I can put a cloth over and stuff, and sort of have that fog of war. Yeah, but it's tricky with terrain sometimes.
Yeah, so I've done that where I've done a whole big giant dungeon build. I actually covered each room up with sheets of like fabric and paper, and kind of reveal each one as they go, like a fog of war. So I've done that at like events like Armageddon and things where it's like a time challenge. You got 1 hour to get through the dungeon. Go. Revealing different rooms and scenarios as they go.
Yeah, that lends itself really well to like a gauntlet adventure where they're going from A to B. And that's how a lot of players play video games these days. Like even Space Marine is basically running a gauntlet.
So, because you're one of the few people I know that also ran Dungeon of the Mad Mage. So, did you have that dungeon in a terrain format?
Yes. So I built certain areas of it with the terrain.
That's actually massive.
That
dungeon's massive.
So I only complete area that I built the whole thing of in once was Halasta's tower, because that was basically the battle takes across his whole tower. So I had to build like effectively 3 dungeons side by side as he teleports around the place. But prior to that, I basically built just certain sections as I needed it. And I sometimes had to change it to make it work better, because sometimes I go, this room's a bit bland. You know what if I do add a lead chair and put a wizard on it? I'm sure it's fine. Yeah,
as long as it's not Halaster.
He needs to help.
One wizard.
He still needs to help. He's like, if someone gets to melee with him, he's still a wizard. Oh dear,
he's still squishy.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the most creative terrain feature you've used?
Most creative. I think the first thing that springs to mind is I came up with this, and I've ended up used it a few times now, a few different scenarios. I think even I gave it to Viewer Dirtly to use in one of their shows as well, where basically I built I got a portal. I didn't build the portal. The portal was a Reaper Bones portal, like a magical gateway, like, so it's got a big hole in it. And then I was like, okay, I wanted like a evil horror from another world coming to this portal. So I got this kraken. Actually, they've gone behind me, actually. But anyway, I got these tentacles, and so I jammed a bunch of tentacles through the portal, so there's like a massive tentacles coming out, and they're quite long tentacles. from the WizKids Kraken mini, just the tentacle parts jammed in there. And I took a bright light behind it too, like a bright purple light. So there's this glowing portal with tentacles coming out. I put that down with the terrain, like ritual chamber or whatever there, with cultists and maybe a little bit of fog machine coming in. It's like just terrifying.
Yeah, a fog machine as well.
Yeah, so I got a little miniature fog machine. So you put water in there, kind of and it kind of ionize it, whatever it is. You know, makes vapor come out, makes everything super wet. So you don't want it running too long, but for just for the fight, or a dramatic moment. All right, click. So during that dungeon challenges where the 1 hour get to a dungeon. So the final chamber is Vecna doing a ritual, and the certain hour mark or whatever minute mark, I start the ritual's about to complete in the fog, so it's kind of the portal and things like this. You know, I like my special effects.
Nice. So you obviously live for that moment where you pull something out and your players go, "Oh, that to you that's a DM buzz for you."
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. When you just crack that big, that's something that virtual tabletop players just don't get about the game, do they?
Yeah. Like, for instance, I had one of those set piece things, and there was a sarcophagus lid in the first section of the dungeon, and then the second section of the dungeon, there was a bridge across some magma that was exactly the right shape for the sarcophagus lid, and it was obvious to them that they could pick up this thing and transport it, but in doing so, they left themselves vulnerable to getting attacked by goblins with arrows, but they're like lugging this thing to get across the bridge thing because they didn't want to jump across magma. It's like, no way. It's like, yeah, you fail, you die. Nobody swims in magma.
I like 55 fire damage or something. I'm sure it's fine.
It's sticky. It's like quicksand.
I'm vulnerable to fire damage. It's fine.
Yeah, I can't breathe rock.
I'm gold dragonborn. I'll be fine.
Oh dear.
Okay. What's your most memorable player reaction to terrain? Oh my goodness. Good thing I do a podcast where I can talk.
We can edit that out, right?
Got there in the end. No one can understand our accents anyway.
Exactly. Tell me about it. Well, I'm going to use a different example from the ritual villain things. No, I love the boss setups, right, where the players come in, oh my god, and they get to do a monologue, because I love villainy, like, wow, you fools, blah, 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 monologue. But I'm going to go with something a bit simpler, because I always get a great reaction every time it comes up when I'm doing my terrain, is when they trigger a trap. And so in the terrain, I have a lot of magnetic traps that can attach to the walls, or floor tiles you can remove for spikes or pit trap or whatever, or a little boulder that can roll down the corridor. Just nice. Down there. So it's pick the trap, whatever the trap. The reaction, they go, oh no! Suddenly, these little metal cylinders pop out of the walls and whoosh, flames shoot out, or various kind of traps, and attach onto the terrain. They go, oh no! Or when they counter a trap and it doesn't work, they go, wait a minute, why is it not working? And they remember early in the dungeon there were some levers I had there, and they turned the lever down. And I was like, oh, I turned the trap off. Things like that. Those moments of realization. Just so much fun.
I would love one day to take all of the Grimtooth traps from that old Grimtooth book of traps. Is like these enormously elaborate death traps that are almost impossible for players to figure out until they experience them. So each one is like, yeah, I've encountered that trap. That my character died to that trap. And it's just a book full of nightmares, counter levers and steam vents and, illusions. And you think it's one thing, but it's another. Good example of that is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle original adventures. And there was just a button in the middle of the room that eventually one of the players will step on, and a timer pops up, and then these windows open up, and the foot ninjas are all laughing at them inside the room as the timer counts down in real time. The dungeon master at this point is to hold up their stopwatch and say, okay, you've got 1 minute. What do you do? The decision is simple. Stay on the thing or step off the thing. 50-50. and just, that burns itself into the players' memories, because it's like they literally feel like their lives are in danger, because they're feeling what their character is feeling, and your brain just traps have that thing where that your brain remembers survival situations, whether it's real or not. So you remember your player deaths, you remember near misses, for years to come. So traps are always good.
I
They can be interesting puzzles too. Yeah.
Yeah, puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've recently just run a group through Tomb of Horrors, and that just broke their brain for trap. Like I,
Oh God.
We bond through trauma. Yeah.
it is actually it is a bonding session. Like I never really got pit traps, but players learn to bond when they get stuck in a pit trap.
Gravity
They keep
sucks.
falling. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's not as flash as you guys. I have a lot of hourglasses, like different timers, like 1 minute, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and quite often I just like chucked it on the table without saying anything, just to like add some tension. Like, what's that for? Oh, you'll find out. Anyway, what are we doing?
I like the just casually rolling dice behind my screen, not saying why.
Yeah. Just because you guys are taking too long to make a decision. I know, I just want to mess with you. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. AJ had a question. Grid or no grid?
So typically I do use a grid just because it's just way easier and faster and efficient. And a lot of my terrain does have it already built in. There's certain situations, certain terrain, it looks prettier without the grid, and so I go without when it's like say the water or whatever, or the pit of. I don't need. Like you can kind of figure it out, like how long it is from there. But so for the most part, though, grid.
Do you find that it changes the player's playstyle when they don't have a grid and they realize they can put their miniatures anywhere?
I haven't noticed anything, to be honest. Though normally they'd still try and go. I think it's about here because they know their movement, like on their character anyway. We're talking bullet time. If we're talking like here's a diorama set up, what do you want to do? Where you go? Then, in which case you don't need to worry about the grid. It's just we're on bullet time right now. You just do whatever and just let me know where you are. I'll tell you stop. Everyone happy where your characters are? Okay, this is what's going to happen now.
Right.
It doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah, I like the big proponent of the string. It's like it's 30 feet there. You got a string which is marked off with ranges and things. It's like line of sight. It's really good.
Thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really good for like line of sight and stuff. Like, can I fire an arrow there? It's like I think he's got 1/3 cover. Yeah.
That's the benefit of VTT. Like I've been using the free maps, D&D maps, and that is really good with that. It's so basic, but just having that little ruler of like, oh no, you can get there, or can I get to him? Yeah, you can get there. Or will my spell get there? Yeah, it gets there. So I play with a lot of younger. I have a group of younger players, and they optimize. So to them, they're really like all about how many feet is that person, because that's the way their brain's working. Like they're lined up a certain spell that I'm going to do this movement. This spell's got this range, and I'm going to do this. So they kind of approach the game differently.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with optimizing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all good.
Yeah. So, but I think that's one of the reasons I also gone back to Theatre of the Mind, because it was like, just combat was taking forever because they were just, it was just getting too, it felt like I was playing 4th edition again.
Yeah, and with the right kind of your creative players, right, you can, Theatre of the Mind also can add like element, like when your player goes, so tell me, is there a window behind the villain who's monologuing right now? Like, is there a big window behind him? Sure. Why? Right. I'm gonna push him through the window. Ah, okay. I see now. You do things like that.
Yeah.
When it's not like, is it? You can kind of build the scene as you go.
Is there a chandelier?
You're not 4th edition for being like too rigid and stuff, but it made the best skirmish games, quick skirmish games and stuff like Frostgrave and that sort of thing. So yeah.
Any advice for GMs creating terrain on a budget?
On a budget. Don't get into the Dwarven Forge then. That's what I did. So that's what most of my trainers. It's very expensive. Great stuff, but don't start with that. My friends gifted me some that got me hooked, and they keep building stuff to match. Anyway, I started off by,
especially with shipping as well to New Zealand. I imagine that's even worse for us.
Dwarvenite is heavy, yeah.
Oh yes, but it's super pretty. But on a budget though, stay on topic on the budget terrain. So I originally started building my own terrain using This is before 3D printers really got really good. So we'll get to 3D printing soon. But initially, I started building it with these clay blocks. You can get like these molds, and you can make little clay bricks and tiles, and then gluing it together and painting it. I made all the various kind of terrain bits that then kind of fit together to make for dungeon builds or whatever. Which it worked. It was pretty cheap. Though I think over time, like I look at it now and like the paint's flicking off and things like that. Like it doesn't last forever. Though actually Beaver the Dirtly borrowed some of it and used some of their shows recently, so you'll see some of it in action. So oh wow, that old terrain. The more recently though, because 3D printing's got so good now and so cheap, especially when you talk about filament printing for terrain. Which is where they do. Gosh, I'm not a 3D printing expert here, but it's like filaments where they got that spindle of other plastic. I'm sure it's got technical terms, but it has a lot of lines sometimes. But they got better now with the lines chop less. We got the print lines, but they're really good for big terrain pieces. While miniatures are better for resin, though, which can do finer detail. But
So do you have a 3D printer?
I don't. I have a lot of friends who do, and a lot of people who do printing for me. So I never had to buy one myself. So yeah, they get them to print things for me.
Nice.
Yeah, they've got 3D printers now that print in color. So you got like 4 full spools of filament in different primary colors, and they mix together, and it's amazing. I thought it would be years before we saw that, but it's already showing up. I was an early adopter of the filament printers. When you had to build them yourself. But it's all shipped over from Shenzhen, and I know people over there, so I can get stuff. I have just recently, about a year ago, I bought a resin printer, and I do not like it because it is toxic as hell. And I'm very aware of the fact that this stuff, you have to be very careful with your environment, and not only that, but also what you're putting into the environment from it, not just your own safety, but otherwise, because that stuff, before it sets with UV, it's very toxic, and it will have long-term effects on your body if you are not very careful. So that's what I worry about. So I would go with the filament ones because they're a lot better these days, and it's just a lot more convenient, and it's not toxic at all.
Really a lot cheaper as well for printing, and also less like the break. Resin can a lot of breakages, a lot of very sad broken minis. Resin,
and resin's a lot better these days. The systems are a lot more robust. They're a lot more user friendly, plug and play. They're self-aligning, and it's easier to remove things off the build plates and stuff like that. So it's a lot better than what it was. How I got the glue stick name, and how I started doing a YouTube channel in the first place is I came from the crafting scene. That was DM Scotty and his 2.5D method, which is where you get basically a flat map and you just elevate the walls a little bit, not to the full extent. So it's usual dimensions horizontally, but little dimensions vertically. So it's just like a bas relief sort of dungeon. So what we ended up doing was we used corrugated cardboard and basically just cut and paste and layered a map. So you would cut out the walls and make the walls and stuff. So what I hate painting miniatures and that flaking off stuff. I was doing a lot of like polystyrene, just cutting rough blocks of polystyrene and sticking on thing and then painting it all as dirt for making. I discovered that you can make an entire cave out of scatter terrain. You don't need to have walls. It's like the limit of the map is the wall sort of thing, and everything. The really only interesting bit is the bits, the features inside the cave that you're running around in. So you've got this limitless space, but a feeling of confinement. And of course, the scattering technique means it's different every time. So you can use a limited amount of terrain to represent an infinite amount of cabins and things. And then you've got mushroom clumps and all that sort of stuff. So I had fun using plasticine and plaster Paris as molds. And then I got like amazing mold stuff, which is 2-part epoxy that you put into a rubbery polymer stuff. So it was all mixing the chemicals together. I felt like an alchemist doing all this sort of stuff. The fun was, learning how the polymer works and what you can do with it and what you can't. And so learning about, I was like, you can layer Sculpey and stick it onto itself and set it in layers and keep on working it. Whereas with 2-part, like the bakeable Fimo and Dukit and stuff like that, you couldn't do that with that stuff because it would make it was very slick after. So yeah, there's lots of different applications. Then of course, green stuff, discovering green stuff is just like, I can make my own miniatures and stuff. And learning how to make a scale one of my primary achievements was I got a piece of plaster of Paris and I scratched in a little humanoid figure with a pin, and I got a plastic straw from McDonald's, and I cut little tiny weeny little fairy wings, and I pressed the green stuff into the plaster of Paris, and I peeled it off when it was set. I cut it off with a razor blade, and I stuck the little fairy wings on it, and I made a scale bunch of fairies at 35mm scale. And they were looking at going, how did you do that?
What dedication?
Oh yeah. It's just like this is artifice. This is masterwork. I'm sitting there going, this is greatness. I can't wait to share this with everybody and go, see what you can do. That was my impetus for making the videos in the first place, was showing people how to do this. And my claim to fame was I sort of invented the print and paste technique of 2.5. So instead of painting the terrain, I would just get a map, print it out. I convinced Joe and Sarah Bilton of Heroic Maps to use their, they were making maps for Hero Forge. For Hero Quest. And they were big promoters of Hero Quest. And I said, if you just made the walls a little bit thicker, I could show you how you can adapt this to D&D. Yeah, exactly. And he was on board with this. He's like, sure. And I said, and there was another guy, DMG, Gareth, DMG Info was his YouTube channel. And so me and Scotty and Gareth were kind of developing this stuff at the same time. And Scotty was the godfather of 2.5D terrain and stuff. He used a lot of like mixing builder's glue with tissue paper to make a sort of a paper mache mash, which set incredibly strong, and you could make all sorts of stuff with it. And he was always experimenting with different things, and Gareth was always experimenting with different things. And I was like, what's the laziest, safest method that anybody can use? You've got a printer, you've got a pair of scissors, you've got a glue stick. Like, what can you do? And so the print and paste thing was like, okay, print off the map, cut out the walls, stick the walls onto a separate bit of cardboard, cut those out, stick them onto the other map, and then just paint the inside of the walls, and you get this relief thing, and you can build the steps in and everything, and it looks really quite convincing as 3D terrain, but it doesn't obstruct the vision of anybody who's using it at the table. So it's very practical, and it's really easy and fast to make, and anybody can do it with a pair of scissors, glue stick. So kids can build it stuff, and you can just easily transport all the files you need for it because they're just PDFs. And yeah, Bob's your uncle. And Crooked Staff Publishing, Crooked Staff is a YouTube channel, and he's sort of taken that original idea and made a whole range of different terrain and stuff that you can build just using bits of paper and cardboard.
Cool.
Yeah. You see that stuff on DM's Guild sometimes, those printable, people, printable minis and stuff.
Yeah, it's got a good compromise because print and paste, like the Fat Dragon Games did a lot of printable paper, foldable paper thingies. It's like origami, sticking this stuff together. And of course, it's weak unless you line all the walls and stuff with the foam core, which is not as accessible in New Zealand as it is over in the States. We don't have a lot of like builders foam and stuff because we just don't build our houses that way. You can make some really great stuff with that because you can press it in and carve it and things, and even heat set it and stuff, and cut it with like a hot wire and things. So it's really easy to use. But we've got like polystyrene, which is a bit toxic to cut with a hot wire, and it's not that acceptable with paints and things. Same sort of thing, but yeah, different. But with the 2.5, it's really, really strong. So it's layered corrugated cardboard. So you have to really crush it or press it or get it wet, and it will last for years, and it doesn't warp because it's not painted. It's just stuck on with glue stick. And if you want to get really extreme, you can use hot glue to hot glue them all together and stuff. So that was my compromise, and you could have a whole set of modular terrain. So a set amount of these corridors, and you need this many corridors, and you need this many corners, and you need this many big rooms, and this many small rooms, and this many curved things, and you can get a full range of different dungeons using this set of things. And so we worked out what's the ideal set of things, and then we had different styles of dungeon and spaceship and prison and tavern and castle and stuff like that. It's just like there's a bag of this, there's a bag of that, there's a bag of that. It all sits flat like a portfolio. You just pull it all out and make it. Yeah.
Nice. I think Wizards of the Coast had an attempt at that fold up dungeons as well with Icewind Dale.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure they released a set of you could create 10 towns, and it was all sort of looked like Christmas decorations, so it looked a bit like a gingerbread house.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I've got a few of them. I've got some of Crooked Stars publishing stuff here. He's got some really tiny scale stuff. Just give you an idea.
You stepped away from the mic.
Sorry, yeah, I know I got very quiet. So he's this is an example of his terrain, just to show you guys, even though it's an audible podcast. That's his tiny terrain there, and he's got
very nice.
little bridges and things.
It's like a hex, so like you make a little hex kind of map out of it.
Yeah. You just
nice.
Modular them together like a so.
Very cool.
And I've got some full scale stuff as well. The houses and things, if you want to actually zoom in and you're in the township, you can have that. And you really only need, say, 6 or 7 buildings and a canal and a dirt road, and the rest of it is just scatter terrain, and you can make any sort of city terrain because you don't need to build an entire city. You just need to build a set that the encounter is taking place on, and then move things around.
Yeah, it's build water deep.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because like with buildings, even trees and things, they're basically glorified pillars. Like, because like getting like fancy terrain that look like trees and things. I mean, you can just get something to represent that space for a lot cheaper initially. Like, because at the end of the day, when you come thinking actual battle map scenario, it's a thing that's in the way. It's a pillar type thing, you know.
Yeah.
It's 3/4 cover.
Yeah,
that's what they're thinking.
It could be a block.
Yeah.
I did joke about it, but what about things like Temu these days? If you look, I've seen quite cheap terrain on Temu. Is that a viable option for people?
I think Lego terrain is really good.
Is that cheap, is it?
Well, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
It's not cheap, but it's not her starts, and it's reliable and it's indestructible. So that's what I it's like Minecraft, you know.
Yeah. I have a few terrain pieces I've got from this very exclusive place. It's a pet store, the aquarium section. I was on sale. I was like, what's it? Like a whole pyramid here. It's amazing. I'll take, if you like things you quite cheap for a pet store, like this is actually amazing terrain. I'm gonna take this.
Fish don't deserve this.
Yeah, I'm taking this. This is great.
At least it's silver.
Yeah,
that's an example of one of the Fat Dragon Games. Ravenfell, I think it is one of the print and fold. But you see the chimney gets damaged and things like that because it's all hollow. But if it was full of like foam and stuff, it'd be a lot stronger.
I always like those Acquisitions Incorporated set pieces. You ever seen that show, Brad?
Yes, yeah.
Those massive. They pull out all
big dinos. Well, the more recent episodes they actually are using Dwarven Forge.
Oh, are they?
Okay.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Okay. Do you think digital terrain, like tools like Project Sigil, is going to change the traditional in-person tabletop role-playing game experience? I know Wizards want us to say yes.
I'm not sure what project. I think it's Sigil. They actually said they've said it's Project Sigil, not Sigil, for the project, to be confusing. But I'm not sure who this project is.
Planescape person here.
Yeah. I don't know who their target audience is for this project, because hold on, it's a virtual tabletop that can only be run on high-powered like PCs, so Windows PCs. So who's sitting around a table with a bunch of their Windows, like a LAN party or something on their table playing D&D? I don't understand who exactly they're targeting with this. The D&D Beyond maps, great product. Do more of that.
Yeah.
Maps
is cool.
What's this? It looks very pretty and it's quite cool, but I don't see who's gonna pick this up.
Yeah. I think it's basically going to be the same format as their Magic the Gathering arena, where how they have a set sort of terrain thingy, which the card game is taking place on. It's an interactive terrain thing, and that format, the entire format, the business model, the sets, the expansions, the gem purchases, and things like that. I see it all going exactly that way because that's a model that they already know works. It's what they understand. It's what the younger audience understands, that you buy these add-ons, they're optional, and that they'll want to have sets of free terrain that everybody can play effectively because they want opponents for a player base. So that I think there'll be a lot of free to play stuff, but of course a lot of incentives to get the gold dragon if you get the membership, and if you get the exclusive thing, you'll get the set and stuff. They want to have a lot of named characters because they want to own the IP. And that's why we see a lot of Morden Kanan and Tasha and stuff getting involved in Forgotten Realms stuff, even though they have no place there in the law, because it's the IP stuff. So I see the business side of it. And I temper everything I say as like, well, it's disappointing, but I can see why they did that as a business. So I do see it as like, okay, we're going to need to compromise a little bit in order to accept that this is a business that can expand hugely, and it's not taking anything away. It's just adding to the options that we have as a hobby. So you can still play for free on Roll20 and Google Hangouts and stuff like that, and Zoom calls and things. I would like to see more traditional sort of things, like Google Hangouts used to have a dice roller app that you can apply to it and all sorts of stuff, but they got rid of it for some reason. Insane.
I use Maps. Maps is great. I can throw it up on my TV, just like cast it on my TV. The Fog, I just like it because it's basic. Fog of War. It's easy to reveal. I haven't bothered to dive into the encounter builder with it. I use it in its most basic form of just, this is what the layout of the dungeon is. Yeah.
I'm extremely lazy. I don't have any time for building maps and stuff. I would like to get like Incarnate and have that sort of, and then have the program just go, okay, we've rendered it as a 3D thing that you can zoom in on now. And it'd be like, great, thank you. And have like, here's a town token. I'm going to put this on the map here. And then when I click on that town token, it takes me to a town that I've already set up in 3D before and zooms in and puts that there. That would be good.
For me, with Dungeons and Dragons, I like it a lot because it's not on screen; it's in person, around people, with real people, and around a table. My day job, I work in front of a computer all the time. I don't want to come home and do that again. I want to do something a bit different in the real world, real fantasy world. That makes sense.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I backed a product which was putting on the glasses that you can see the 3D thingy on the set piece board, but it was disappointing, and I think the technology's got a long way to go. Maybe when the Google glasses and all that sort of stuff, or the Microsoft Meta glasses and stuff are more generally acceptable, we'll see that, but I don't see it yet.
There's two types of players, I think. I think we're probably considered old school. I'm the same as you. I don't play VTTs. I still run traditional games at my table, even though I don't use terrain. I do have I have battle maps, and I have dungeon tiles, and I do have minis and stuff. But I'm not a VTT player either. I don't want to sit in front of a computer, even though that's what I'm doing now. But
you'd be amazed what I can do with Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, I like the people. I like to see my players, and I like to be around a table, and I like the sort of the banter and the snacks, and
there's a lot more banter and freedom for that in person. In person just superior always, but obviously logistically speaking, sometimes you do online, people different locations, or back in the COVID years, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it'd be it'd be a huge shame. That's one of the things I'm worried about with the new generation of players, is they haven't had enough of that in-person play experience to understand why we do this and why it's such a strong social drive in us. Is because, like, I've met all my friends through role-playing games. A lot of people have met their wives. They wouldn't have children if it wasn't for role-playing games. And if it was all online, maybe that wouldn't have happened,
I can see why Sigil exists. Like, I know Hasbro want Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast to make money, so physical print is dead, and they're trying to onboard this new generation of Baldur's Gate 3 people. So and obviously the blueprint of microtransactions is there as well. So this is something they can implement with subscription models, microtransaction models, and that stuff works. It's been proven now. As much as people hate it, people still, that shiny, I can get that shiny thing. Just it's only a couple of bucks. Why not? It's just that, like a Pavlovian response. So
it's not a pay to win scenario. It's a pay to it's a completionist.
So I can see why they maybe are pushing that towards okay, well, they will keep the suits happy, or the shareholders happy, or whoever, keep them happy, but it's still not going to take away our way of playing Dungeons and Dragons. So
my concern is, back in my mind, is how much time and energy money are they investing in this project, and what if it flops? What does that mean?
Well, then Elon Musk
This
steps in and buys the company for a dime.
Yeah, I mean, COVID would have been the ideal time to have launched this, or
Yeah.
fourth
I have
edition
said, by
would
the
have
way,
been-
if Elon does buy the company, I am going to move to the States and work at Wizards of the Coast. I won't work there for the people who are there now, bloody Pinkertons, but I will work for Elon. I don't give a shit. I think he's doing great things. Plus,
All
it
right,
makes
then.
sense. Like, nobody considers the fact that Elon's got 8 kids and they're all gaming age at the moment because they were born around the 2000s. So he's got enough kids to have 2 gaming groups right now. And so I thought, what would be the ideal gift for your kids if you are a billionaire, multi-billionaire? Buy Hasbro. It's like, here, kids, you can make your own Nerf gun. It's like, yeah, that would be pretty cool. So it's like, we see the things that he's posting on Twitter and stuff is like crazy, but he's just being a dad, you know? He's probably
One up Santa.
Yeah.
Haha,
Yeah.
beat that.
Yeah.
It's the whole damn workshop. Oh, okay.
Well,
Ho, ho,
I don't know what's worse.
ho.
I don't know what evil overlord I want to be in charge of my Dungeons and Dragons, but
It's
anyway.
it's great story hooks and story ideas for dystopian tabletop
Yeah,
rolling games. I tell you, it's like, it writes itself. Great
Shit,
content.
the first Super Atomic campaign game that I ran, it was like, okay, we're in a dystopian future where Trump is in his second term. Lo and fucking behold, here we are. Yeah, we're not.
Right.
We don't have war in South America though, but we're close.
Let's not get into politics and Eon.
That wasn't
Elon
politics.
Musk.
That was a game scenario. I'm just saying.
It's real life.
Now it's real life. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If you could design the ultimate terrain piece, what would it be? What is your money no object?
The ultimate terrain piece. So I'm gonna say just a piece. I'm not gonna go too crazy here. I think I like a good MacGuffin. I like this is the MacGuffin here, a very clear MacGuffin. So like, be it like some kind of arcing device or machine or some kind with a controllable light thing. So maybe you can change the brightness or like number of lights on it to show it's powering up or powering down. Some kind of countdown, like some in-game item that, oh my gosh, we gotta interact with this thing. What does it mean? And like, I can see a lot of avenues you can reuse it for, like, this time it's a bomb is counting down, this time it's a arcane device powering up, or every time we push a button the lights on it change. What does that mean? Just some kind of MacGuffin piece, just universal MacGuffin piece. That's my ideal. Don't think it exists. If not, I should trademark this now. Hold on, crap, why did I put this on this podcast? Yeah, that's my ideal piece that springs to my mind, just the ultimate MacGuffin.
Gives the players an electric shock if they press a button at the table.
Don't touch the sides. Operation.
Yeah, MacGuffins are great. They can spend hours like just this has got to mean something. No, no, it
Yeah.
doesn't.
It's a briefcase opens up with a bright light in it. Oh, what is
What's
it?
one of the probably most compelling old school MacGuffin artifact was the Quellish, the apparatus of Quellish.
Submarine.
Yeah, submarine tank thing.
Requires 2 people.
Yeah, push the buttons, all the levers. It's like they have to write down what all the levers mean and stuff. It's very interactive and fun.
Yeah, there's one. Did you use it because you ran Dragon Heist? Did your players come across that in Dragon Heist?
I didn't end up using that plot line there, but yeah, I know of it.
Yeah, that's fun.
But for
What about
me,
you, AJ?
it would be if I discovered that some bunch of very strange people had spent years making an entire scale model Minecraft map of Faerun to scale, including all of the cities and everything. That would just be like, that would be
So
amazing.
That would be
This is a miniature
like a-
map that's you put on a.
Well, I guess you
on
could 3D print it because anything that's transferable into a scale model, and you can do that with Minecraft maps. So yeah, you could technically.
like a opening credits of Game of Thrones
Yeah.
type. Right.
Zoom in on Waterdeep, past the statues and everything, and zoom into the blocky characters.
Like
There's
the
a-
old man that used to have the model model trains in their garage. You've just got a big table of
Yep.
Faerun.
Yeah, essentially. Yep. Just in Faerun, it's like I would be live streaming from there every day. So it's like, okay, we're at Baldur's Gate today. Zoom in on the and just talk about here we are at the tomb of Larlock. And, yeah. here we are
Yeah.
at Castle Candlekeep. I can show you exactly where my room is, my fictional character online.
Zoom in and
Nice.
out.
Yeah, I don't know what mine would be. Yeah, I just like I'm not too sure. The Undermountain. Could you build the Undermountain?
Oh yeah,
It's terrain.
That's a pretty big piece.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
I believe the question was, what terrain piece? That sounds like more than...
yeah. It's like a scale model of the Death Star or the Enterprise. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, how do you deal with fog of war when it comes to terrain?
black cloth.
Yeah.
Normally works.
But do they get the idea of the whole dungeon, or?
Depends how big and clumpy the black cloth is. Sometimes it doesn't matter too much. It's like, okay, there's maybe a room over here.
Yeah.
What are you doing with this information? Of course there's a room somewhere over there. Or I bring out 2 pieces at a time, especially if I can't fit it on the table. Like, okay, you need that room? Okay, I'm going to swap trays out now to this room.
Yeah, it's like scrolling across the table. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I did with the printed and pasted paper train. Is I had those things. So once they got to that bit, I just slowed the other thing, and then once it's off the table, it's just like put it away, and I had them stacked up. But it took an enormous amount of time and effort to make all those things. It took a week to put together each panel.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you pack it away, and then they go, I'm going to head back to the room now. Wait, what? No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
We're turning back.
Or somebody puts a box of books on top of the thing, and it's.
No. There's a player contract in the new player's handbook that says you have to go here because I built it.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we'll go down the yawning portal actually.
All right.
Well, too bad. Something's coming out. All right. That's all my questions for today.
Oh.
Yeah, we've motored through them today. You got anything, AJ?
Not really. No. I really look forward to checking out your stuff and hopefully, one day I can afford Dwarven Forge too. It's funny actually. I message Stephen Picorni every now and then. We're friends on Facebook and stuff. Don't tell him I haven't bought any of his stuff. I don't think he really cares, though. He's okay. But I do have his book that he printed. He's got a hardcover book with all of his artwork and the development of his Dwarven Forge stuff and all of his drawings and relief and stuff. And really cool because he started out like us, drawing stuff on grid maps and math paper. And I still do that. I've also developed a number of dice sets which are designed around rolling dungeon features and things like that. If you want a truly random dungeon design, you can roll dice and determine stuff. And I've got another set on the way, which is a marine set. So if you got you roll the D20 and you got a D20 for common cargo and a D20 for more exotic cargo and a D20 for really expensive cargo, and then you've got a D20 which has got all sorts of different events that can happen at sea, and you just you roll them all together to make all your maritime stuff come true. Because it's like, where's you can have random roll tables for that sort of stuff, but it's easy just having a die which has got symbols on it that you understand, and they're all in the original 3.5 edition campaign guide for Faerun. They've got symbols for all the different types of trade goods, and they've got a map with all the different trade routes for trade goods and stuff. Something we're sorely missing in 5th edition, and I'm looking forward to their actually producing a campaign guide for Forgotten Realms finally, after 15 years or whatever.
You're getting a campaign and a player's. Do you have to buy Dwarven Forge directly from one particular place? Is it available?
From Dwarven Forge.
Yeah, so they don't sell it via Amazon or...
No.
That'd be crazy too. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, you can get it unpainted. It works out to almost half the price for your unpainted paint itself. Terrain in general, be it for Dwarven Forge or printed or whatever, is infinitely easier to paint than, say, a character menu. Things that you can smash them out. So yeah, definitely look at unpainted terrain if you're starting out. It's a pretty good way to learn to paint as well.
Yeah, it also matches up with all my unpainted Bones miniatures. I just
there you go.
I'll just paint it all white and then dip it in black, and then it'll match up perfectly.
Great.
Welcome to D&D Nior.
Yeah.
And it just clicks together as well. It's all compatible.
Dwarven Forge all magnetic, metal trays and things. It's really, really cool design. No, these
Yeah.
not like the Wizards Warlock tiles that clip together those clips. Oh, they're awful. With your fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say is you can do a lot with quite a little terrain, like especially with using negative space, where like you only need like a few tiles. Say, I don't know, drew like the edge of a cavern around a big chasm. Like, cool. There's a big void of death. Don't go there, but you walk around the edging or whatever like that. You don't need a lot of terrain. You don't need to do like massive builds, like unless you're insane like me. But you don't. You can actually do little, like quite a lot with little. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I
always-
tried using those dungeon tiles, and fuck, I just couldn't organise them to. Like the 4th edition ones that they did, I think it was reincarnated.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got some of those. Yeah.
I found them they were so hard to organise. To just like I didn't know how to. Yeah, once I clicked them out of all their little sheets, and I had them everywhere, and I was like,
Find
oh,
the piece
just
you need.
Yeah.
yeah. It
Oh,
was
the
just
same thing with like war games like Gloomhaven, Frosthaven, and things like. Oh my goodness, try and
Yeah.
build the scenarios for those. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like just simple get a silicone map that you can draw on with a dry erase marker, and then standees with the little flat front and back. You just fold them over and stick them in a standee. Travel with it everywhere. It's indestructible. It's all you really need.
Yeah, I even like the cheap Pathfinder, flip map with like a razor pen. I still use it sometimes. I'm like, I'm not sure what's gonna happen. You know what? I'm just gonna pull this out, quickly draw something.
Yeah.
There we go. It still works.
I should send you one of my silicon battle mats.
Oh, okay.
You'll be amazed.
Perfect. It's Christmas coming up, so
It's true.
look forward to it. Thank you.
Big pocket.
Yeah,
big pockets for Christmas.
Big pockets. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah. So nice. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Brad. You got anything to plug?
I guess just myself. Hello. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Cutting Words, where I talk about Dungeons and Dragons a fair bit, and do various unboxings in the middle of doing Dice Advent Calendar unboxings. So you can check those out, see what mystery dice I unlock each day as I build I actually do some terrain builds as I go. Each video I do expand on the terrain in the background as I do the dice unboxing. So you can find me there, or on Instagram, Cutting Words GM, and all the other socials.
Nice. And you've got that 2024 game coming out soon.
The one I'm editing. Yes, it's so close. We're almost there. Any day now. It's like 3 hours long.
I have been refreshing your YouTube page looking for it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, oh no, he mustn't
It's
have got
coming.
around to it.
It's coming.
So, Eva Vecna, isn't it?
Yeah, Eva Ruin.
Eva Ruin, sorry.
Yeah, the final chapter. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. Watch out.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks, mate. That was fun. All right. And that is good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night.
Good night.